Well, I'm Carolyn Baltz, and I'm the Associate Director for Membership and Marketing at the association. And I'm happy to present at the beginning of this today. I'll tell you that I am covering for a colleague who had to be out the last minute. So I'm going to do the best that I can. And then I've got 3 awesome co-presenters this morning as well. And we really want this to be more of a two-way presentation. So if you have any questions, blurt them out, interrupt us, whatever you need to do. And does anybody want the slides with notes as a handout? If you do, raise your hand and Alexa can grab them for you. Okay. Oh, there you go. All right, so today we are talking about young alumni, and we're in good company here, it looks like. So who are young alumni? For us, our definition is anyone who's graduated 10 years or less ago. And as Julie mentioned in her presentation, most alumni associations are made up of about 25% young alumni, and we're right there with that trend at 24.2%. They value family highly, their own and then their moms and dads. So it's a great weekend to be talking about this, with it being Parent Weekend. And then they value work-life balance. So it's not just about working all the time. It's not just about playing all the time. They want to do both. And they're loyal. They have a high expectation of their leaders. And they also really value community service. So this is a snapshot of what we have for young alumni. We have about 29,000 young alumni. We can reach almost all of them via mail and a little over half via email. We have the most in Arkansas, naturally, and then Texas has a strong contingency as well. And as we know, with so many Dallas students in the new class in the next graduating years, that'll grow tremendously. Another reason why we have a lot in Arkansas is because many of them may not have updated their addresses, and we show them as living in Fayetteville still, maybe from their campus address. And we would count that as addressable if we don't know that they're lost or unreachable otherwise. So, they are confident. Is anybody in this room, anybody graduated within the last 10 years? Okay. So if you disagree with anything that we're saying right now, I want to know, because you are our biggest litmus test about what we're finding online and through the research from other schools. Eager to contribute, again, civically engaged. That's one of the hot topics for me as I try to market the association and membership. I feel like Heath's work with Helping Like a Hog and that community service element, if you don't know about that, we need to talk about it. It's growing, and it's a way that we can get everybody engaged across the country through community service projects. I know John Reap will probably talk about the Dallas chapter in a little bit and talk about their community service elements and their young alumni programming that's relevant. They are tech savvy, mostly anyway, so we focus a lot on social media right now at the association. It's a really big deal for us. We're trying to grow that as much as possible. You're going to see us developing a like campaign soon where we match every like with $1 that goes towards scholarships. So we're trying to count 2 of those elements in one. So we're civically engaged, and we're also giving back to the community and engaging through social media. So relevant programming, like I said, I know the Dallas chapter does a really great job with that, and then the Young Alumni Board, Scott can talk about that as well, but we just need to make sure that things that you're doing within your area or your group are relevant. And the best way that I've heard from our programming team is to let the young alumni in your group plan those events. Don't try to take it, if you're not a young alum, don't try to take that and plan it, because we don't know what they want. They know what they want. So let them take the wheel on that. They want to be engaged, and they want to be leaders. Make an impact. Do something that you can say, hey, we did this. This was awesome. Make sure you evaluate afterwards. Don't just do it and then move on to the next thing. You've got to make sure that you report those, good statistics or bad statistics, evaluate as a group, see what went well, what didn't, and figure it out for the next time. And then again, share the progress with us at the association or each other, and just be really honest about it, whether or not it worked. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. So This generation has unfortunately been called the me generation. We don't necessarily agree with that because, as we've seen, community service is a big deal for the younger generation. And obviously they're not super selfish if they're trying to give back to their communities. There are reasons for that maybe, who knows, but that's personal. And they want to connect with others and make a difference and network. So again, I think our Dallas chapter, from what I know and from what I've heard about them, and probably some other of the larger areas, do a really great job with networking and career programming and young alumni programming. And then professional development. Of course, they're just getting started, so they need ways to develop that skill and make sure that they have tangible things that they can say they've learned from their mentors. And I think as an alumni association, that's pretty key. I mean, we're there to kind of lead the way for them. We've gone before whatever classes come after us, so we're trying to create a legacy for them to follow. So always keep that in mind with what you're doing when you're networking. And then, again, emphasize the cause. Make sure that what you're doing is relevant, that there's something that we're giving back with, or some sort of engagement there. Make sure you can measure what that engagement is, and make sure that they can say, hey, we did this. Like if you're going to do a cleanup relief after a tornado, or if you're going to go build a community garden, or if you want to help at a nursing home, or whatever it might be, just make sure that you can say, this was us, this was our group, we're proud of it, and then make sure you tell everybody about it, because, everybody loves to hear those kind of good stories. That's what we've been seeing with this generation. We definitely see that on campus. We rolled out the Helping Like a Hog program in conjunction with the Volunteer Action Center last year, and it was a pretty big deal, but I think it's going to get bigger as every year goes on. So make sure that you're familiar with that. And does anybody have any questions about this segment or disagree with these demographics or specs? Okay. So I'm handing it off to Alexa Albrecht. She is the president of our Student Alumni Board and the Student Razorback Foundation.
Hello. I'm excited to be here today. I've actually been associated with the Student Alumni Board my spring semester freshman year. I served as Director of Homecoming, Director of Communications, and now into President. So here we go. Where is the? Oh, okay. Awesome. All right. We actually have a representative of the Student Alumni Board here, Nathan Hopper, and of course our advisor, Alyssa Strobel. This year, we've we've really expanded the Student Alumni Board. Sorry. Okay. Usually we have had 7 directors in the past, but really we wanted to try to expand our board to kind of continuously increase diversity on campus, and also recruit those campus leaders and just to reach all aspects of campus. So this is the board structure change we had this year. Each vice president position has a co-chair, and with that it's been very useful because we've had all different students in different leadership positions, different organizations, and so in the midst of planning homecoming right now, it's been very beneficial towards getting everyone involved. So kind of our mission and goals for the Student Alumni Association, we're always striving to increase campus diversity. Attendance is, enrollment's going up, so we're always trying to maintain being the largest student organization on campus. We're increasing alumni relationships. One of the greatest benefits, I believe, being a part of the Student Alumni Board is getting that professional experience, getting to know the Alumni Association, getting to know, what amazing careers our alumni has and what our university has to offer for success upon graduation. And also, we increase membership involvement through volunteer opportunities and events for the Arkansas students. Our goal is to create a stronger relationship with athletics. This year, I'm also serving as the president for the Student Razorback Foundation, and I've helped with enhancing the Access Pass and doing different things for athletics to enhance student involvement. So I hope to kind of use that and incorporate it to the Alumni Association so that we can give our members benefits to athletics, such as early admission to games or kind of special events with the coaches and things like that. We also want to provide benefits for membership volunteer opportunities like a point system. We have all of these members, but how are we going to engage all of them? If we make a point system leading up to a certain prize or a certain benefit, we were trying to brainstorm things like that for people to attend these events and receive points to work up to a certain goal. We also want to increase membership continuously, as I said before, to still remain the largest RSO on campus. And also we want to create a closer relationship with the Young Alumni Board. Of course, we want to make that connection with all of the Alumni Association, but you've had the most recent experience in kind of helping our seniors transition upon graduation, and they always, they're wanting to make those connections right out of college, and if they're a part of this association, that should be one of the greater benefits that they should receive. So, how we engage our students. So the largest event we put on for the university is homecoming, which actually we had our reveal last night. So our theme is Super Hogs this year. So it'll be a superhero theme, and we're going to incorporate like local heroes as well, like policemen, firemen, kind of honor them as well. But it'll be a fun theme for the students. And we have a homecoming committee with our homecoming director who recruits different student leaders outside of the student alumni board to help him with the homecoming events and implementing the point system. And all of the student alumni board help plan the events as well as the theme and point system for the student body. And so to really give homecoming a healthy competition aspect, we've put in different philanthropy events that we engage our students to volunteer. They give the opportunity to volunteer with the American Red Cross. And last year we raised 1,300 units of blood, so we hope to top that by reaching 1,800 this year. We're trying to grow each year. And also we have Hogs for Heroes, in which we send packages overseas to soldiers, and that's been a great program. We've also raised near $10,000 in change with our Create a Hog contest, which we all went to the March of Dimes. And also, we have another event we host to engage our students is we try to really engage our seniors to continue to be involved upon graduation and want to be a part of the association. So we host the ring ceremony as well as the drive-through graduation event, which we give them their information for transitioning into alumni member. And so, as I was saying before, these are some of the partnerships that we put with homecoming. We also partner with student organizations across campus, such as Greek Life or RIC and different RSOs and different diversity groups that will help us increase our involvement engaging students to participate in the homecoming events. And also, we have participated in partnering with the alumni chapters for student send-offs. For example, I went to Fort Smith this past summer, and it's an event for freshmen going into the U of A, and it's we make a speech. The student alumni board members come down and make a speech and give them advice upon transitioning into college or any tips that they might need. So it's been a great program doing that and getting to meet the incoming freshmen and encouraging them to get involved. So here's some pictures from homecoming last year. It was Hog Holidays, if you remember. That's the Hot Dogs with Head Hogs event, which this year will have more athletic representatives to be present and help us out. And these are some from the parade and the 5K that we had. And here's some more. Okay. All right. And so the importance of involvement is, as I said before, they gain a professional learning experience. It's a professional environment, and students really want to have their resume building and do it in a fun way, and also learning traditions of University of Arkansas, which is why I've enjoyed being a part of the Student Alumni Association so much, because it's taught me so much more about the university and and how to get really engaged in other places on campus. And so we encourage involvement upon graduation, which is why, as I'd emphasized before, we want the relationship with the Young Alumni Board for transitioning, and of course all of the association. And we provide leadership opportunities through our Student Alumni Board, of course, and also through homecoming, heading up different events. We have, of course, the alumni connections to ease the transition, and we also want people to really engage, to know, get connected, somehow make a system to get connected with people who are in their career path to maybe get advice or anything like that. So now I'm going to pass it to John Reep, the president of the Dallas chapter.
I actually don't think I'm going to use the mic, but not going to use the mic. We got smart Alex here from Dallas. I've got a disclaimer before I get started. I'm a pinch hitter. Kristen Albritton, our Dallas chapter president, had a death in the family, couldn't be here. And for those from Dallas here, know Kristen. She is incredibly talented. She is very detailed. She is incredible with follow through, and she handed me a page of about 5 pages of notes, of which I'm going to try to refer to, but she can do a far better job than I can. But we're talking about chapter and young alumni. And let me say at the outset, before I do refer to some notes, you want me to use the mic?
Please use the mic.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to CNN's coming, I guess. I don't know. But, okay. Is it on? Is it on? Is it on? Carolyn's already given accolades to Dallas. I don't think we deserve necessarily because, let me assure you, we are really, in a lot of respects, in our infancy in dealing with young alumni. We have a lot in Dallas. We have more in Dallas, I'd say, from probably an energy, maybe not so much numbers as, say, a Little Rock or Northwest Arkansas, but we've got a lot of energetic, very aggressive alums in Dallas, and we have had a difficult time kind of harnessing these folks and getting them organized and getting them going in the right path. And if something was said earlier, I think Carolyn said this, and one thing we've learned, I guess a key component we've learned, is let them lead the charge. Don't tell them what to do. I'm an old guy. I'm the oldest guy in the room, I'm sure, and probably to some extent the least qualified to be up here, but I can certainly speak from experience in a large chapter of how, from a chapter perspective, do you garner these people and you get them interested. And I'll talk about this as we move through the slides here. We have just 4 slides, and I'll refer to some notes to make points that Kristen wanted to make. But we are very much in our infancy. I think another global comment would make, in addition to identifying your leaders and let them run with it and monitor them, though, would be the integration with the Young Alumni Board here, which I've had some consternation that hasn't really happened, and also the student alumni, which Alexis just talked about, and the progression as you come through there. And one thing that's really helped us in Dallas has been getting people who are active on campus, some in student alumni. Student body president last year, Tori Polner, has come to Dallas. She is the Energizer Bunny. And but if you're in an area where you've got a lot of folks coming in, which I assume most of you are, a lot from campus, recent graduates, try to identify folks that were really active on campus, because they're going to have the passion, and generally they're going to have the leadership to help you. So let's go through the slides. I think we have 4 slides, and I'll make a few points as we go through. Carolyn, would you help me? I'm a little limited here. Recruitment and link to Student Alumni Board. I've already touched on that. Capture the interest of students graduating from the U of A. One thing that we haven't instituted yet, but it's certainly on the platter for Dallas, is, I'll get over here, is a welcome reception. We have, oh gosh, I don't know how many young alums we've got that have just come. I'm sure Carolyn may know, but to Dallas, certainly over 100 this last year. But we're going to institute a reception for, we haven't had it, so we can't tell you if it's going to work, but it's certainly to get people together. We've in essence had one at our first watch party. We had the most successful watch party in the history of the chapter for the Louisiana Lafayette game, if you can believe that. We had 175 people at our Young Alumni Watch Party, and we've just turned our watch parties over to the Young Alumni. Some of the old folks, and there's several old folks from Dallas in here with me, older folks. We've been trying to do watch parties, and we've been struggling with 10 and 5 and 15 and 20, and lucky to get that. And we turned it over to the Young Alumni this year, and with these new leaders coming in from campus especially, and I'll talk about that some more, and 175 people for a no-name team on Labor Day weekend. Unbelievable. But welcome notes, one thing we're going to do, we have already started this. We are, our membership chair is starting to send handwritten notes. Handwritten notes, I still believe in old school handwritten notes. I was a banker my whole life and was big into marketing and taking care of customers and in the community and all kinds of things. Handwritten notes are invaluable, so we're starting to do that. Student Alumni Board, Student Alumni Association, I've already talked about that. We've got to do, and this is a job National's got to do. This is not necessarily, they've got to do it, we've got to do it out there in the chapters, the affiliate groups, whatever we're calling them. We've got to get a better integration, a flow of information between the or with the student, well, I'm talking about young alumni, but the student alumni, we've got to be more in sync with what they're doing. They can help us. They can give us ideas, especially in community service. We're just getting started in community service. We're having some successes, but we're not having the young alumni. So we need to learn from each other. Best practices flowing. One of the problems I see, and I'm a little over the top, as you might can tell, about the National Association and the passion for the Arkansas Alumni Association, but there's a lot more we can do, not only from the staffing standpoint and leadership standpoint here on campus, but the volunteers like myself and y'all. But we've got to learn from the student alumni folks what they're doing, what's making them tick. We got to know when these leaders from the Student Alumni Board come to our areas to where we can access them. And we're doing that in Dallas, but and a lot of it's because, quite frankly, I've been around up here, and I get introduced to people, and that's helping. But some of you are not around on the national level, and you don't meet the students. And but there's got to be a drive here from the national staffing perspective to share information, best practices from the Student Alumni Board to the young alumni out in the chapters, Student Alumni Association. I'll go ahead and make my spiel now for the Student Alumni Association, Student Alumni Board. But when I took over as president of the National, I'm a punch list kind of guy, and in the top 3 or 4 on my punch list was the Student Alumni Association. And you know, you look at it from 30,000 feet, you kind of say, well, it's a no-brainer. You know, we get the students involved, and you know, and then they'll come out to after they graduate and join the Alumni Association, and that's the way it should be. It's doing better with that, but we need to do better. We're in a generation now, I'm sure most of you are facing this, where we're people that are always asking why. I wrote about this in one of our quarterly magazines. Kids asking why. Why? You know, when I was growing up, my dad said do it, I did it. I didn't ask why. But you ask why now. Your kids are asking why. It drives me crazy. But people aren't joining. They're asking why. So if we can educate them more on the Student Alumni Board, the Student Alumni Association on campus, get them involved, then they're not going to be asking the why that much. Certainly we can respond to it, and we need to. But once they get out in Dallas or Little Rock or Seattle or Oklahoma City or Tulsa, if they've got exposure to the Student Alumni Association, Student Alumni Board, then it's certainly going to help our efforts to keep people connected, keep people involved, keep people selling the school, telling their friends about it, telling family about it, getting kids to come up here, some of the things I touched on in my opening remarks. Networking efforts of other young alumni. We do have a networking luncheon in Dallas. It's been more attracted to a little bit older crowd, but we're starting now. Like I said, and I'll get into this in a minute, we're having more, we're just really turning young alumni, our young alumni activities over to this new leadership group we've got in Dallas. And the main thing they're doing now is, and it's simple, and it may sound too simple and too basic and not all that meaty, but just the watch parties that we're having, and as I already mentioned, what's going on there. Okay, next slide. Challenges with the chapter, certainly time management, that's huge. I'm talking about the time of the young alumni. Everybody's busy, but the young alumni are, they come to Dallas and they're trying to get situated where to live. It's all new, and I'm just talking Dallas. It could be anywhere. Trying to get settled in their career, trying to get settled socially. It's a big challenge to say, hey, why should I do this? Why should I be in a young alumni, part of a young alumni group in Dallas or wherever? The other thing is geographic location. We have a big problem in Dallas. We are so big, and this is a huge problem. No matter where we have something, we get criticism, no matter where we have it. And so what we've decided to do with our young alumni, and granted it's probably easier in Dallas than any place represented here, but we have an area in Dallas, some of you know about Dallas, called Uptown. Uptown is where the young people congregate, the young professionals, the young college graduates. That's the place. And so we formed we hadn't called it this, and I probably shouldn't even say it, but we formed kind of a little unofficial young alumni group in Uptown, and we're giving them a lot of rope, and we're monitoring them, but we're letting them do their thing. I met with the leaders this week and talked about some history of some events and the challenges we've got, and it was amazing some of the ideas that they had. And we had people there student body, Tori Polner, we had people that had been active in student alumni board here on campus. Everybody that was there that came, and this is a key thing, had been active here on campus. And maybe not in Student Alumni Association, but in student government, and had a passion. That's the thing you got to find. You got to find these young people that have got passion for the school, and like I said, leaders on campus, and that has been a huge thing for us. Relevant programming, and this is as difficult as anything. Do you want when we had this meeting this week in Dallas with these young alumni leaders in Uptown, the first thing Tori Polner said, actually, student body president, she's a phenomenal lady. She said, what is our goal here, John? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to socialize? Are we trying to connect? Are we trying to raise money? So, but start out simple, start out easy. Start out with social things. Then you can move into community affairs. And we can learn a lot from what's working on campus with community affairs. If you keep up with campus, which I do a lot, you find there's a ton of community stuff, helping like a hog, all kinds of stuff. We do some of that in Dallas, and they transfer it down, but we got to be transferring what's going on with the students to the young alumni group. Communication must evolve with the demographic, and certainly there's a lot can be said about that, but that's more, I think that's more the modes of communication. Certainly social media has helped us a great deal. It's just phenomenal, something I can't even spell. But successes, chapters, perspective, passionate leaders. I've already touched on this. You've got what's worked for us, and granted, I think it's probably easier in Dallas and probably just about anywhere, is try to identify the people that are coming to your area that have been leaders on this campus. Okay? Now, there's exceptions, obviously, and there's people out there that I was not a leader on the campus when I was here. Of course, I'm so old, it doesn't even count. But there's a lot of things that cause you to want to get involved, and but you've got to have people that are really sold. Alexis, you've got to be people that are sold like she is on this campus, that are sold with the passion of Razorbacks, that are sold on all the meaning and history and the passion and the emotion behind looking at Old Main like I am. But you've got to find those folks, and the easiest place is to talk to people at the association. They'll tell you. They know. Revamp communication, that's social media, the Dallas Young Professionals, and that's been a huge thing. Let me go back to communication. We have, and I think a mistake we made in Dallas, and I'm sure all of you have made this, and it's really kind of coming front and center. We had I had a kind of an executive group of our national board did some brainstorming here in Fayetteville in late June. We had about 8 of our national board members, and one of the younger ones, he's talked about how email is just not working. The email's not working. People are, and we all find people are not looking at it. They're arbitrarily erasing it, taking it to trash, and what all's working. So, and this is a fast-moving change here. So, with the young alumni, I mean, it may work for me, and it may work for some of these others from Dallas in the room. They're a little bit older, but it's not working for the young folks. And that's what got this. We had 175 for Louisiana Lafayette. We had 150 for Sanford. I mean, back when I was in school, I mean, people wouldn't even show up for games like this, but they're because of the teams we're playing. But it's just incredible, and it's a lot driven by social media and just knowing people, and that gets into the next point and getting your friends involved. Of course, under the new situation, it's the young professionals. Is that right? It's not young alumni. Young professionals. Yeah, okay. So I got to get the lingo straight. But the personal networks, and this is where you've got to identify people that have a network, and that and it takes some study. You've got to and here again, working with national, and you've got to get folks that know a lot of people on Facebook, whatever, and just work them, get them involved, and just in communication. You don't have to get them involved doing anything with events or anything. Establish a brand identity. Now this first I saw this when I was looking at the slides the other day, but we're working. That's a work in progress over there. Dallas area young professionals, and they've got kind of a half hog there or whatever within the state of Texas. Now that's a work in process, but that's branding. That's branding, and so, but something like that. I know the Greater Dallas Razorback Club, which I'm involved in. We have a Razorback Club and an alumni chapter in Dallas, but they've got a really neat logo with the state of Texas involved. They've got an actual hog in the middle of the state. But branding, of course, branding is important. I don't know that it's all that important in this kind of stuff, but it could evolve into T-shirts and all kinds of things. The programming, we've already talked about it. Incentives, things, and this is monetary, and this is something that National's got to deal with. But what can be provided monetarily that really, it may be free beer, it may be gift cards, all kinds of stuff. But what really works? So, and this is something I touched on earlier, and this is I think that needs a lot of work on this, and I don't know, how to. I can talk about it, but making it happen is one thing, and certainly Scott Noblet can talk about this. But potential to shape the Young Alumni Board. We need to have more interaction between the Young Alumni active out in our chapters and the Young Alumni Board. We need to be feeding people up to national from local chapters to be on the Young Alumni Board. Have calls, share best practices. All this is no-brainer stuff here up on this slide, but we've got to get leadership that we've got, like we're developing in Dallas, connecting back up here, not only with staff, but with the National Alumni Board, and what works, what doesn't work. Best practices, that's one huge reason we have this summit, is to share best practices between chapters. And we can put stuff on the website and do all kinds of things, but just to come here and talk to people and listen to presentations like this and just what's working, because we can all learn from each other and we can save a lot of time, in some cases money, in terms of getting young alumni engaged. But the Young Alumni Board is doing a great job, but to really maximize what we're trying to do for the entire association is really having a flow of information, a flow of leadership back and forth between local chapters, the bigger chapters certainly, and national. Now, how many people in here are from like metropolitan areas? I'd say metropolitan, over 100,000. Okay, that's most of you. That's who should be. Now, I'll just say this, to be quite practical, and I say this, I'm getting to where I say this a lot in Dallas. In some of the smaller areas, this stuff's just not going to work, folks. I mean, just don't waste your time. I mean, yeah, try to get people involved, but to try to have a segregated young alumni group, it's just not going to work in some areas. And don't be upset if it doesn't. I mean, it's just not going to work, okay? That was one thing that frustrated me as I got involved in alumni stuff, and certainly we've had a lot ups and downs in Dallas and frustrating. You know, some things just aren't going to work no matter how you do it. And but in the major metropolitan areas where you've got kids coming in, this is where this stuff really can go. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Dallas, Houston, Memphis, Chicago, perhaps. So this is, and there's, you know, Northwest Arkansas. So this is more, I think, attuned in terms of we're like a business in a way. We're trying to get numbers. We're not beating our head up against the wall like one kind of a pet peeve with mine, and I shouldn't say this, and it's not really happening, but I saw it happening. All the stuff we're doing internationally, or we were talking about doing internationally. Well, you can spend a lot of time and money doing internationally, but you've got concentrations of people in Dallas. You've got concentrations of people in Little Rock. You've got concentrations of people in Oklahoma City, Tulsa. And so for some, it's just not going to work. A lot of what I've said here, a lot of what we're talking about. So I think that's it, isn't it? Okay, Scott Noblet. Yes. Sure. Oh, yeah, we're all going to be sharing here in a minute. Good. Oh, gosh. Yeah, we've got quite a few officerships. Yeah, at least 15.
This is awesome conversation, but we're going to go ahead and let Scott go so we can get through the rest of the presentation, and we might have other talking points, but save your questions, please. They're all important. We want to have time to actually talk about them. So Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you. Scott is our president of our Young Alumni Board. He's awesome, and he was actually the president of the Student Alumni Board when he was in school. When I first started the association in 2004. Yep, so here it is.
All right, so a lot of what I'm going to go through really mimics what John had talked about, leads right into it. So, but just a little bit about me. Again, my name is Scott Noblet. I currently live in the Dallas suburbs, the Frisco area. I work for J.C. Penney as a project manager. So if you know anything about the business world, you know my life has been kind of crazy the past 2 years. But we're just going to keep going. So the Young Alumni Board kind of has gone through a lot of transition along with the association since Graham has come on board, and it's been really a good thing, I believe, for us. So today what I'm going to do is just kind of go through kind of where we've been as a Young Alumni Board, where we are today, and then kind of what our mission is going forward and how that mission kind of ties right back into helping the chapters that are out there trying to get folks to come to events and trying to continue to engage folks as they transition from the university into the real world, as we say. So let me see if I can figure this thing out. There we go. So again, our purpose really as a Young Alumni Board, and I would be the first to say I think it's probably one of the most difficult boards, if you will, because a lot of folks who are leaving campus and going into the real world have a lot going on. They're looking for a job, or they have a new job. They're moving. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with their lives. They don't always think about the Alumni Association at the top of their mind. So our job is to try to work with the students, the existing chapters, and everyone to connect the dots so that they don't forget who we are and what the Arkansas Alumni Association does for them. So we actually are serving as an advisory board to the association, a voice to the young alumni body, and our primary goal is to engage the young alumni with the association and not let them forget who we are. So history, we started off as a planning and organization board, so several years ago, I don't remember how long it's been now, but we had 15 to 17 members on the board at all time. We had 3 ex officio seats to the national board, the nominating committee, the president had a seat in the national board meetings, and then we also had someone on the communications seat. And some of the big events that we had done, we tried to start a young alumni tailgate during homecoming. So for those of you who know, like, the house has a tailgate party before every game. So we tried to take one of those and make it like the young alumni tailgate, which was fun, but probably not as successful. So we're going to talk in a minute about how we're going to try to change that. And then one of the most, I guess, the things that I think were most successful, we did last year a Hogs Care event where we collaborated with the student body and Heath and everyone at the association, and it turned into being like a whole campus thing. So it was the Helping Like a Hog teamed up and we called Hogs Care. And so last year it actually went nationally and then it went worldwide. Was a one-day service event where it's kind of like giving back, like you do something nice for someone else, take a picture, snapshot it, social media, fun thing. It was super exciting. So we're going to continue to do some of these things, but this is just a little bit of history about where we've been. So current state. We are evolving more into what would be a true advisory board. So kind of moving away from trying to program and do all these things to actually going back and helping the chapters, helping the association directly impact what's going on throughout the nation. So what we're starting to do, and this is all brand new, so as John said, kind of bear with us as we continue to evolve, but we are going to be sending out invitations to young alumni chairpersons across the country, or in the cases where you may not have an established group, someone who's interested in the young alumni perspective, to attend our monthly calls and meetings to gain insight, help advise us on what we need to be working on to help everyone else. And we're going to start that here in the next month. And so those invites will be going out. The goal really is to develop young alumni around the country and to grow into leadership on the Young Alumni Board. So back to what we were speaking in the previous session about succession planning, it's so important that, you know, I graduated in 2004. I'm kind of not really young alumni much longer. So we have to kind of like keep that succession plan going. So that's kind of the goal of this. And additionally, really to try to help advise chapters on programming ideas at a high level that might keep folks engaged. So everyone across the country will have specific things that are more tailored to their individuals, but there are some things like the Hogs Care event and homecoming parties that we can do that can kind of loop everyone back together and keep the engagement going. So this goes back to the national opportunities. And the other thing I wanted to mention, we just had a conversation last week. As part of the advisory board, the Young Alumni Board is going to be actively participating in everything the association does. So if the association is planning to send out a mass social media event, the Young Alumni Board will have, you know, some say on what that communication should look like. You know, is it really targeted to a young alumni base, or is it something that needs to be tweaked? We already have had an active participation in the redesign of the website for the association, which we'll be rolling out. If you go to the website right now, well, it's not up yet. The new one's not up yet. Okay. If you go to the website right now, the young alumni page really sucks, to be honest, but so we've had a lot of candid conversation on how to make that a little bit more engaging within the resources that we have available to us. So that'll be rolling out. It looks a lot better. It's a lot more clean and fresh. So we're going to be advising on website content and information. So one of the things we did, and my profile is up there right now, is we're going to start a highlighting event where we just try to highlight young alumni across the country and just, give everyone a feel for kind of, what people are doing. Everyone's so interested in that. So we're going to continue to do that, but we're going to have an active voice in everything the association does from reaching out to young alumni. And we're also going to kind of create a template of ideas and events and programming. And most of that, like John is saying, is going to come from our communication with the students and then with the existing chapters. It's going to be very important that we have that collaboration. So we create a template, we have discussion, we get some consistency and synergy created across the country, and then we continue to build upon that. So that's a little bit about what's going on there. And so that's the end of what we wanted to do. But the most important thing, I kind of wanted to link back. The reason why we asked Kristen and John to bring their chapter perspective is because really everyone is saying the same thing, right? It's always difficult to engage the young alumni. It's always difficult to connect the student into that transitional phase. So we wanted to bring the chapter perspective in just to say, we kind of know that there's an issue and we're working on it, and we're going to try really hard to collaborate and involve everyone and team up as we should to make sure we can get some traction and engage everyone. So we wanted to now just kind of leave it up for some conversation, ideas, suggestions. So I guess, Carolyn, I'll let you take over.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
got, I think that the key thing is you've got to identify, and I was talking to the leaders that are like, they may not have even been involved in the alumni association of parents students, but try to identify and then let them be so participatory in what they want to do. And even if it's coming from national, it's maybe working with, they may not be working in Dallas, but you've got to ask these people what they want. And that is so key. So easy, because I'm a real old guy, but even when you're 35 and 40,
Mm-hmm.
What you get so stubborn about, this is the way it's going to be, and damn it, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we ought to be doing, but it doesn't work with these young people. And not that it ever worked a whole lot in the past, but you've got to get them participatory in what they want to do to make their activities regarding the alumni association and their community meaningful.
Did everybody catch that? Okay. I agree completely with what John's saying, and I think we're really excited about this upcoming year with our student program because through Alyssa's leadership and the student leadership that we have, I think we're building inroads to build stronger young alumni as they reach you all in your affiliated groups and networks, because that's what it's all about. It hasn't always been that strong, and it can only get stronger from here. We have a lot of room to grow. So is anybody struggling with identifying who the young alumni are in their area? Okay. You want to tell me a little bit about? Okay. Right. Okay. Gotcha. Yep. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Right. So have y'all been in communication with us at the association about those things? And who have you been working with Heath or? Okay. Right. Right. Immediately. Yeah. Okay. Well, I actually work in the membership area, and we have the records department within our area. And so I know that we have the data. It's just a matter of maybe what's needed specifically. So, and I know Heath will do his darndest to try and do whatever you need. So if you have specific questions about data, I would recommend talking to me or Terry Dover. We're kind of the go-to people for pulling that sort of thing, even though Heath is, of course, your main liaison. And then you might reach out to Scott on the Young Alumni Board and see if he could identify anybody within his Young Alumni Board network to see if there's somebody there that maybe hasn't been contacted to get involved with your group. Yeah, yeah. And again, just coming from the staff, we've had a lot of turnover in both of these areas. I think that's a huge part of what's hurt us, the past leadership to no leadership to current, which is super strong. And we're actually looking to fill the position for student and young alumni engagement, who Alyssa will be working with closely. So I am more positive than ever that we're going to get somebody in that's going to take the reins on both of these things, because it's just been, I mean, for lack of a better term, it's been kind of a cluster for the last couple of years. So we are super, super excited to have that, and I hope that you all see the fruits of our labor from that. And I know Scott's ramped up to get some things going. Anybody else have questions? Yes, sir.
I'd just like to mention that in Oklahoma City, our board, we have 16 on our board, and our board has gotten younger. And because people like Carolyn, every time that we get ready to begin a year and try to pick new officers, et cetera, they give us good information. And we've been getting very good people. Very recently, two of our key leaders were brand new alumni who just moved into Oklahoma City. And they've been very helpful. We have two. You can do a lot of receptions for new students. You can do a lot for watch parties. You can do a lot with social media, connecting with the young alumni. But we also have two very traditional things. Every year we have a banquet in Bricktown at one of the major hubs, so to speak. Nice banquet where we give out our awards. And in the summertime, in late July, we have a picnic. It's been very successful. And the university sends out a speaker. We even had Coach Barnhill come one night. It just goes on and on. But I think it's important for the alumni in your area to know there's a couple of very regular traditional things along with all of the new events.
And I think, like Gerald said, you all have to be proactive with that to ask them stuff. Okay? We don't have the staff at Extension to anticipate everything that you need. So if you need a speaker, you need to know what young graduates who moved to Oklahoma City, your folks, whatever. You need to ask. You need to ask, because the data's there. You just gotta ask.
And I would add too, if you're not getting an answer, there are more than one of us, so don't hesitate to reach out. The worst thing that we could imagine happening is that you don't feel connected to us. That's like bottom line, worst thing. So if you need anything, none of us are going to get our feelings hurt. We're just trying to make sure that we are engaging. That's our goal. We just want to engage everybody who wants to be engaged with us. So we don't want to create a roadblock there at all.
I think with the Student Alumni Association, we have our current connection like campus, so we can kind of give you an idea of like the graduates that are moving into your town, like what kind of leadership roles they play, and like kind of give you that information so you can specifically target them to be a leader in your group or your board or anything like that. And I know they have a leadership mentality. We definitely don't want to continue to be involved, so
Yeah.
we definitely provide that information and
Right.
try to engage the graduates.
See?
These people, your kids that are leaders,
Yep.
they're going to be the leaders in the network, because they're going to know all the people that you're probably going to get involved.
Right. Or they may know somebody that has relocated to an area that maybe failed to tell us that they were going to that area. So it's just a matter of, if you're just super desperate and you're not finding it even in the data that we do provide, if we're running into roadblocks, we'd probably go to Alexa and say, hey, did you know anybody who graduated last year that's relocated to this area? And chances are she's going to know somebody or find somebody that knows somebody. Yes, ma'am.
We're told that, and we had a picnic based on, Oklahoma City was very helpful in helping us form, and we reached out and had someone come from the Student Alumni Association, and the parents were like swarming that table because it's a way for their kid to go to campus knowing they have somewhere already to fit in, and I think that's great because if they come back home to the Tulsa area, you can kind of gain them as a young alumni. So I think even in just our send-off type stuff, letting them know that there's a place to fit already on campus, that was very positive. A lot of kids were meeting each other for the first time.
Good.
And if further you get away from Fayetteville, I think that would be more key.
Right. Thank you for sharing that.
But it was really good.
Yeah, definitely.
I came
That's what we're here for, yes.
The web page that Scott was talking about.
Uh-huh.
Where can you get to that and something?
Well, we're actually, the association's getting an entire new website. I'm going to tell you October 15th, but if Kelly Bostic walked in here, she'd probably kick me in the face for saying that. So we're working as hard as we can to get that pushed out, again, in collaboration with our Young Alumni Board. I know I've seen the draft for the Young Alumni page, and I don't think it's up yet, but go ahead and check it out. It's arkansasalumni.org. I believe it's /Young Alumni. And if you see something that looks stale and old, then it's not updated. But if you see something that looks fresh and goes in line with our new branding, then it's out there. But I think we were saving it for the whole new website.
Yeah, and we are, as part of the initial advisory meetings, once all that is up and running, we're going to send out a note to all the chapters and let them know, what's there, what content will be there, and how often it will be updated. And we're also going to be requesting info from the chapters so that we can infuse our site with information across the country as well. So you'll be hearing from us for sure when all of that gets updated.
All right. I have one last thing before we end, because I know we're close to, if not over time. How many of you are following the association on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn? Okay. If you are not, I would beg you to please, please, please do that. Kelly and our marketing department, along with collaboration from O&E, work really hard to make sure that there's relevant information out there. If you want to hear about homecoming, we'll be retweeting everything that the Student Alumni Association does with homecoming. You're going to find out what other chapters are doing. It's just a great place to just learn and just, awareness creates pride. You can't do that unless you know what's going on, and social media is kind of where it's at right now. So please, please, please do that. And then lastly, I would like to thank our presenters. If you could all come up, we have a little gift for you. Yeah. You're welcome. I guess we have lunch next, so if you're hungry, good news. Lunch is next, and thank you to everybody for coming. If you have further questions, contact any of us.